Hello, welcome back to my channel. If you haven't been here before, I'm Jamie B. I read a ton of books. And this is a typical reading update. What I've been reading, what I'm up to so far in the month of April 2026. Um, we are situated at the maybe start of the end of the not quite war, but maybe in Iran. That maybe we have a ceasefire that means the war is over, that it wasn't really a war, because if it was a war, then Congress would have had to approve it. And yeah. So that's where we're at right now. So I haven't been reading anything connected to the real world enough that it feels like it's pertinent to real world events. And maybe that's part of why I haven't been feeling like I've been reading a lot of books, because I've been reading. I just don't feel like I've been accomplishing anything this month. I've also been trying to get things lined up to start my bookstore. And I keep running into these little snags that are nonetheless reasons why I can't move on with things. And so it's been frustrating. I'm sure everyone that goes through starting new businesses runs into similar things, especially if they've never done it before. Uh, it's just frustrating. I feel like I should be in my store by now, and yeah, I haven't accomplished anything where I can check off anything off a list in a while. So, yeah. So, good time to record a video, because at least then I can accomplish something. So, yeah. But I have been reading. I was looking at my arcs and trying to figure out what I need to be focusing on to be able to read arcs from my NetGalley collection. And I have one from Alexander McCall Smith from his 44 Scotland Street series that I needed to catch up to the series to be able to read it. That is a series that needs to be read sequentially. And I had a few left to read to be able to catch up. So as of tonight, I'm caught up and I can start the arc. I also caught up to book 3 in the Annual Migration of Clouds trilogy by Premee Mohamed. Um, and I don't know if it's going to be a trilogy or if it's going to be longer, because I haven't read the arc, which would be the book 3. At this point, it's probably out. That's one of my older arcs. And I think the Alexander McCall Smith book is out. I'm not sure if it's published simultaneously in Britain and in the US, but its arc is not expired yet, at least. So it's not that old compared to the other one. But yeah, so I'm caught up on a couple series that allow me to read arcs. That's an accomplishment. I will be starting on the arcs maybe tonight. I might actually do the Premee Mohamed one just. All right, so here's the Premee Mohamed arc, or book at this point, if you have it in book form, that I will be maybe reading tonight before bed. They are novella length books, so I really should be able to finish this one pretty quickly. And I kind of want to know what happens next. So it's a good series in that respect. I finished book 2 about an hour ago, and yeah, I kind of want to know what happens in the next book. I had a lot of criticisms about book 1 in this trilogy. And I think some of them still stand. The story centers around the people, not the situation. So, to some extent, Mohammed has tried to not have to explain the world building stuff. And it is novellas, not full length novels. So there's fewer pages in which to do anything. But because she's telling this story through this approach, there's not a satisfying explanation yet for how we got to this point in the first place. So it's post-apocalyptic and sciency. So it feels like a fantasy novel in the first one. It really does feel like it's, you know, like a village in something in a world like The Witcher takes place in. They are kindred spirits as far as, how those books feel. Book one in this trilogy and the Witcher series. Except that by the end of the first book in this, um, the Annual Migration of Trees trilogy, um, we're seeing that there's sciency stuff going on, and that the creepy stuff is still sciency. It's not magic, um, or aliens. And I was thinking at first maybe it was aliens, but no. So I should really like this series, and I like it better now. But that first book has a lot of, maybe not plot holes, but unsatisfyingly unexplained issues to do with the world building. And I don't know if that gets resolved or if it ever is going to be, or if that's just supposed to be that's all we get to know. Um, so yeah, so I had some issues. Um, a lot of it to do with, so a lot of post-apocalyptic stories rely on people being dumb and incapable. And this one landed somewhere in that vicinity too. Um, and I don't know if I've changed my mind about that evaluation or not. Um, the first book where it really got me was they were talking, or the main characters talking about paper and being astonished at the piece of paper that she's received from outside their community, that is white, like high contrast white, so that the text stands out really well. Um, and she's talking about that the paper that they have is all recycled over and over again and is gray and increasingly gray and dingy. And I made paper in art school. It's not that hard. So I was really skeptical that with all the sciency talk, because they're still talking about like trying to understand things and learn techniques and stuff. Um, how do they not know how to harvest fibers from their environment and make new paper? Like, it's not that hard an invention. And obviously, they can recycle the old stuff. They also should be able to figure out how to bleach it. There's a bunch of different ways to bleach their paper. So there's things like that that just, yeah. Um, they did not work for me. So I have a feeling that the series as a whole is not 5 stars, but I enjoyed the second book enough that it got up to a 4.75. So you can see the dilemma here. I'm enjoying it. I still just don't see the world building as satisfying. So, yeah. But it's fun so far. I'm enjoying it. Most people are probably not being so hypercritical. Maybe I'm just in a bad mood. I don't think so, but if there's another one, like if there's a book 4, maybe I'll reread the series and see if I like it better the second time through and see if it's just that I'm in a bad mood. Yeah. In the next 24 hours is the next book in the 44 Scotland Street series by Alexander McCall Smith, which is called Birdie's Theory of Ice Cream. Some huge things have happened in this series between books 1 and the book before this one. The characters have gone through a lot of changes. So if you've been thinking about reading this book and have not read the series leading up to this book, you need to start at book 1 and work your way up the series. This is not one that's going to be satisfying if you just dive in. It might be cute, but you're going to miss a lot just because the characters have really long and important character development arcs that take place over the course of the entire series. And some of the things that are funny or surprising or frustrating are only going to register like that if you know the history leading up to those events. So, yeah, that said, I highly recommend this series. It is fun. And they don't take very long. And I caught up from, I think I was at book 11, like not too long ago. And now I'm caught up to, what, 18, 19? I don't remember. I think 18. No, it is. Yeah, it's 18. Okay. So this is book 18 in the series. So I caught up from book 11 to being able to start this one in not very long. The audiobooks are quick and fun. They're 9 hours each. And if you speed them up, can you tell I listen to audiobooks way too much? But they don't talk fast enough. They don't talk as fast as I do. So I speed them up. So they don't take very long. And they're a lot of fun. If you're not really fond of accents, or if you find Scottish accents harder to understand, you might slow it down a little bit more than I do. It's still slower than they actually speak. I have acquaintances from Scotland and they don't speak that slowly. So, yeah. Anyway, so this is what I'm going to be reading. I need to check in on my prompts for stuff. So I'm reading for Vikingathon, and I've finished the Odin prompts. All right, so I'm in the Fate Weavers team. I've already finished the Odin prompts, and right now I'm working on finishing up the Fate Weavers prompts, the team path. And then I'd also like to finish the Frigg prompts so that I have them all done. This is not a competitive readathon, really. We are in teams, but it's not really competition oriented. So, yeah, I'd like to finish them. I will do what I can. I have definitely read a book with multiple POVs or more than one timeline. Multiple POVs, I could use any of the 44 Scotland Street books, pretty much. So one of those I will submit for that. A book where secrets, mysteries, conspiracies, or hidden truths drive the plot. Again, that's something where one of the 44 Scotland Street books works. A book with a ruler, someone with authority over others. Again, actually, there's at least one from that series that works. Or actually, the Premee Mohamed books. There's several people with authority over others that would work for that. We have a book where learning the truth comes at a cost. Definitely book 2 of the Annual Migration of Clouds series, the Premee Mohamed books, works for that one. A book involving destiny, prophecy, foretold events, unavoidable outcomes, or characters struggling against fate. I would say that one of the 44 Scotland Street books works for that too, actually. Yeah. Poor Bertie. Anyway, read a book where history, memory, ancestors, or legacy shape current events. I'm betting that either the third book in the Annual Migration of Clouds series or Bertie's Theory of Ice Cream will work for that. But I haven't read them, so I'm not sure. And a book where something valuable is lost in exchange for greater understanding. I believe that one's one I already submitted for. So I think I'm just about done with these. I just need to assign which books go to what and actually submit them. So I think that's where I'm at with Fate Weavers. Let's see where I'm at with Frigg. That's the one I've looked at least closely, I think. So I might actually be close to done with my Vikingathon prompts, despite feeling like I'm not accomplishing anything. So for these, I need a book where important information is deliberately hidden or withheld. I finished Gravel Heart by Abdul Razak Gurna. That's the library book that somebody so rudely put a hold on so that I had to return it instead of having it to wave in front of everybody. How dare they? I know. So that actually works really well for that prompt. Read a book centered on family ties, relationship, devotion, or emotional bond. For that one, I think this one that I've been reading, Paradise by Abdul Razak Gurna, works really well. This is about an African boy's coming of age, a tragic love story, and a tale of corruption of African tradition by European colonialism. There's lots of family stuff. Lots of emotional things and yeah, it works very well. If that one doesn't work, then I have several other library books that will. So that one I will hopefully be done with by this weekend. A book where warnings are ignored and consequences follow. If I have any 44 Scotland Street books left that I haven't used already, one of those would work. I also have read a few books that were not 44 Scotland Street books. I have the Everyone in This Bank is a Thief, I believe it is, by, what's his name? So what else have I read this month? Because I've been relying only on 2 series for all my prompts. So this month I finished A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas, which I started last month. I finished Gravel Heart by Abdul Razak Gurna. Culpability by Bruce Holsinger. Good People by Patmeena Sabit. Woodworking by Emily St. James. Audition by Katie Kitamura. Stoneyard Devotional by Charlotte Wood. Everyone in This Bank is a Thief by Benjamin Stevenson. And then all the 44 Scotland Street books. Goddess of the River by Vaishnavi Patel. And the Premee Mohamed books. So that's my month so far. And I would bet within that, I've definitely got books where warnings are ignored and consequences follow. Actually, the Vaishnavi Patel book, that's all about gods and warnings and consequences. So that works really well for that one. It's from the Hindu pantheon, I believe. Anyway, from that part of the world, the Indian religious pantheon. So bit different God's mythology story. It was really good. Not 5 stars though. I was very confused for a while because it so I really liked Vaishnavi Patel's the 10 10 Incarnations of Rebellion. It was really good. But this other one, now I'm forgetting what it's even called. Okay, so I really liked Goddess of the River. And that one does work really well for the warnings and consequences prompt and Frigg's prompts. But it was a little bit frustrating. Let me pull up. So, Goddess of the River by Vaishnavi Patel, which definitely works for that prompt. This is from the Indian kind of Hindu Buddhist pantheon, Indian history, and the gods and goddesses and mythology that go with that. Hi, guys. Okay. So it's good. And if you're familiar with the history and the gods and just hadn't read a novel about them lately, it's great. But imagine if you'd never heard of the Greek or Roman gods and tried to dive headlong into a novel of one of those gods without already being familiar with at least something about that pantheon. That's how I kind of felt going into this one. I'm somewhat familiar with the history and the mythologies, but not enough to not be a little bit lost getting into this one. So I suspect that's going to be a barrier for some other readers as well. It's not bad. And if you just read it without worrying about whether you're lost or not, it's still a fun story. It's just maybe the author is not explaining things as well for someone that doesn't already know who these gods are. Like I still only vaguely know what they're supposed to look like. I usually you have some idea of the iconography of familiar god stories. I don't have that for these. I vaguely remember what some of the carvings look like in Buddhist art where some of these characters show up, but I haven't really absorbed enough to already have that imagery in my head. So that would be my biggest complaint on this book. And it's not a complaint, really. It's just this is why it may not be as successful for every reader, just because it's so unfamiliar. It does mean that you learn a lot and you get stories that you may not have heard before, which is great. I wish that there was just a little bit more for those of us that didn't grow up with a background where this set of ideas and people and stories is more um, available. So anyway, this is one of the ones I finished that was because I liked something I read already by this author. It was very good. Anyway, and that's going to be for one of my prompts. So, yay. We'll pull up Frigg's prompts again. See what else we still need. A book focused on home, marriage, domestic power, protection of the household, or the politics of privilege. Or no, politics of private life. Okay. So for this one, for a book focused on home, marriage, domestic power, protection of the household, or the politics of private life, I'm thinking I'm going to go with Good People by Patmeena Sabit. This one, I don't remember why I remembered hearing about it, but I know somebody I know was talking about it or reading it on Sprints or something. I might have some idea because there were only a couple people that were familiar with it when I started reading it. But anyway, this is really good. It is about a family that maybe is involved in an honor killing. Maybe. Beyond that, um, it's the reader's evaluation of the evidence, what's actually going on in this book. It's told as a series of um, like interviews or testimony from all the different people involved in the story. And you piece it together to decide who is being honest, who is being trustworthy, whose evidence is more reliable. What do you believe actually happened in this story? So I really liked it for that. It's kind of open ended. I think I know what happened, but I think I know what happened in the way that I think I know what happened with JonBenet Ramsey. Uh, we may never know. So it's one of those, but it's fiction, so you can have a lot more fun on it and not feel creepy about the fact that you're trying to decide what happened about somebody else dying. Anyway, so yeah, this was fun. Definitely involves family dynamics and protecting private life and um, the politics of family, all this kind of stuff. Um, and it was really well done, and I definitely enjoyed it. And everyone I've spoken to that has read it has really liked it. So I definitely recommend it. There's not a lot of anything graphic on page. The way it's narrated, you're not seeing bodies, you're not seeing violence on page. Everything that's happened has happened. So, yeah, so it's definitely not something where you have to worry about a lot of trigger warnings. It's a pretty mild reading experience from that perspective. It is a little bit cerebral as a result, but not to a point where it's likely to bog you down. So I recommend it. It was good. And it definitely works for that prompt. All right, so let's pull these back up, see what the last one is. Read a book dealing with loss, mourning, parental love, heartbreak, or deep sorrow. All right, so here we have my story graph. We'll see what I think woodworking might actually be a good choice for that last prompt. It's trans kind of families reconciling with having trans family members, and sort of working on what that family dynamic looks like. Um, so the prompt: loss, mourning, parental love, heartbreak, and deep sorrow. Yeah, I think that would work. So I think the moral of this story then is that once I submit all my books, um, let's see, I've probably finished them all. Court of Mist and Fury, Gravel Heart. Oh, do I remember Culpability? I obviously liked it. Right now, I don't remember it very well, but partly my brain is just like, I'm fried. Good People was good. Audition was just okay. Stoner Devotional was good. Everyone in This Bank is a Thief was good. Here's all the Bertie Pollock stories. The Migration of Clouds, Goddess of the River. All the books about Bertie and his community. And that one. And there we are. So, yeah. I would say I need to do some submitting, and verdict of this exercise is that I'm done with Vikingathon. I just need to submit the books, and I can say I've accomplished something. Yay! Which I needed. So that's excellent. I am participating in Old School April. I'm also participating in Battle of the Bands, and I do need to go through the Battle of the Bands prompts, and I will do that in a separate video, and go through my TBR and what I've read so far and see what I've already accomplished and submit some books, and then see what I still need to do for Battle of the Bands. That one is competitive. I am on a team. I am earning points. And Old School April is on a team as well, a competitive team. I am in Fashion Freaks. I'm kind of actually in an old school, like very 90s stripy shirt. Um, I was channeling my 90s vibes. But yeah, I could do better. I've mostly been just watching videos. I've watched a couple different 80s movies, a couple different 90s movies, and two MacGyver TV movies so far. And I think I've read a couple books that were older, but maybe not 90s. So that's really where I need to focus my energies for Old School April, is actually reading things from the 80s and 90s. So we'll be doing more of that. But yeah, hopefully over the next week, I can get some print books done that I can show, because that's part of, I think, why I'm feeling so unaccomplished, because I just don't have anything to show for all this effort. I've been boxing books up and pricing books and I'm gonna have to unbox, price, and rebox some books because I didn't really think about that initially. Like, oh, I could just price them before I get down to my bookstore, and then I could just unbox the books into the bookstore and not have to do pricing before I can start selling books. So now that I've had that great insight, I have a lot of pricing to do. So I've been doing some work that way, but oh man, I need some rich relative to show up out of nowhere. I don't know that I have one. But that would be nice. Like in the novels, at this point is when I discover an uncle I didn't know I had, and that would be where I'd get my financing and it would all go well. Or I suppose depending on the genre, maybe I'd meet the just the right person and they would turn out to have a lot of money that they don't know what to do with. And then, I'd end up in a relationship with that perfect person and they would finance it. And then I wouldn't have to do a lot of the stuff that I'm hung up on right now. So, real life, yeah, I'm just going to have to do it. Yeah. So it'll be a little while maybe before I feel like I've really accomplished much on that front, but we're making baby steps and progress is still progress. So hopefully I'll have a bookstore. If you asked me tonight, I'd be like, I don't know, maybe it's not gonna work. But I think that's just me being tired and frustrated and not actually reflecting on the likelihood overall of it working. But I have been using my mantra of if you quit, then it obviously isn't going to work. The only way that you can make it work is to keep working on it. It's not a very good mantra. But yeah, I'll be reading more books. I did check out 3 new ones. So I'll show you guys my my latest library books before I end this video that are new to my TBR. I got The Bones Beneath My Skin by TJ Klune. See if I can get it without so much. They always put the sticker on the title. There, Bones Beneath My Skin. Wow, they stickered that one really badly. Anyway, Blessings by Chukwuebuka Ibe, which I've seen. I don't remember who I saw that was reading it. And How to Sell a Haunted House by Grady Hendrix, which is not a green cover. But other than that, it would fit in with the green, creepy house vibes books that I did that video for. If you haven't seen it yet, there's a much shorter than usual video of just 3 books with creepy house vibes that I would bet this Grady Hendrix book would fit into, aside from it not being green. So, but we'll forgive it for that. Maybe there's an edition where it is green. So, never know. All right. So, happy reading, everyone. I will check in with you guys soon. Probably the next video is going to be the Battle of the Bands plans and progress update. And I'll probably do some short videos and just try and work on, more video ideas. So soon this will be routine. We'll have a schedule that will actually be a schedule, not just one that pretends to exist. Anyway. All right. It's been fun. I will see you guys in the next video. Let me know if you are doing Old School April or Battle of the Bands and what you've been reading. Are you doing Vikingathon? Are you close to done? What have you been reading for that? Have you read any of the books that I've talked about in this video? Let me know. And yeah. Any other questions, comments, concerns that you would like to share in the comments? If you have not subscribed, and this kind of video is something that you don't mind, if you have not subscribed, you might want to do so now. If you've made it this far, you might as well. And if you liked this video, make sure to click the like on this video, because that tells the algorithm that you liked this video, and you can train it so that it shows you more of the kinds of videos that you like instead of all the random crap that you don't. So, yeah. And I will see you in the next video. Talk to you later, guys. Bye.